Hi, I'm Mike Haduck, and this video is going to be Masonry Tips for Beginners Part 2. And how I'm going to start is, usually when you walk into a supply company, you don't know what the cement to buy. When I do it, I usually go to the block company and I buy it there, but once in a while I'll go to a regular supply company like Home Depot or Lowe's or Ace and buy some of these products. So I just want to distinguish between them, what's really going on when you first go in to buy cement. So first we're going to just take a walk in a couple stores, and then I'm going to start explaining it to you. Now we're walking into a supply yard, and you see all these kind of different cements, and you wonder what the heck is going on. What cement means what? So usually when I come in here, there's two cements I usually always buy. And one of them right here is Portland. This is a Portland cement, commercial grade. See, it says Portland right there. That's what I'm after, type 1 or type 2. And the other one is a masonry cement, which is mortar. They're the two I usually buy. And sometimes I'll come over here and I'll buy a finish coat for stucco. That's on my stucco videos. Sometimes I'll just use a concrete mix. Just mix them up. And sometimes I'll buy Cemento. It's a fast drying cement. Now here's another supply company. Here's the tools, your patches, and you're getting into different kind of cements there. You got all this racks of cements. You gotta wonder what it all is and what it all does. Here's your masonry mortar right there. See, some of this stuff is just play sand, like there and here. It's just sand. That's what you'd mix with the Portland and the mortar. So first thing we have to do is we have to understand how cement is made. And all they do is they get a piece of limestone, they quarry it, they get it and they crush it. They crush it until it's real fine particles, and then they put it in a kiln. And then they heat it to 3,500 degrees, depending on what they're doing, and it burns a molecule of oxygen out of it. So when they put water back into it, H2O, it goes and reforms back into a rock again. That's basically how cement is made. So when they first started out using cement, they started out using lime, because it was very easy to quarry and very easy to crush up. They're still using it today, so that's why I'm going to give you a little lesson on it. What they would do is get this lime. This is masonry lime. They still use it today. They put 1 cup in, 2 cups of sand, and they would mix it up just like we did, because everything I'm doing right now, all the same rules apply as on my first video. So now we're going to just mix it up. So here we are. We just got lime and sand, and the same rules apply. If you're laying brick, I always told you, wet it first, put it on. Now that's just lime and sand. That's old school. That goes way back before the Bible days even. And also, same rules. Wet it first, put your lime and sand on. So that was the first kind of cements they really ever started using professionally, let's put it that way. So that was lime. And what happened after lime is, as they started to do different kind of rocks, lime actually turned into mortar. So it's hard to buy lime anymore. I don't even see it. I got this bag off my brother. But now it turned into mortar. And that's basically the same kind of thing. It's just a more modern mix with a stronger rock. So after that, what they did, in the late 1800s, they discovered Portland cement, which they make out of a volcanic rock. And this is what they use on highways. This is what they use on swimming pools, sidewalks, patios. That's what they use there. Mortar, right here, is usually used for brick and block, and now they have what they call an S mortar. Here's where it gets a little bit confusing. if I did a whole video on this. It's called What Cement Should I Use? And it explains the difference between mortar and Portland. So I'm not going to go deep into it. But Portland is a lot stronger than mortar. Mortar's a lot flexible. It's easier to use with brick and block. So when you're working with Portland, right here, we're going to take 2 sand again. And we're going to put pure Portland in. And the same thing, we're going to mix it up. So I mixed it up here, but what I'm going to do is show you in a wheelbarrow, mixing Portland. And then I'll show you the difference between the Portland and the mortar. So right now I'm going to mix the Portland cement. That's the bag I used right there, Portland Type 1. And I'm going to mix it up like this. 2 sand to 1 cement. That's what I put it in there. Just like that. We always mix it dry first. Then we come over here and we mix it dry again. And then we add our water. What we think we're going to need. It's been a little too short and too much. People ask me how much water you should put in. Well, put in just enough until you get to the consistency that you need. And this we're going to make it just a little bit harder than normal, so we're going to put a little less water in it, that's all. And we just keep going like this, back and forth motion. Mix it a little at a time. Get to the other side. And mix it like this. A lot of people think it needs cement mixers. I take more time to clean the cement mixer than I do sometimes to make the cement. I might only use a cement mixer 1-2 times a year, that's it. Unless it's a block job or something like that. So, it's a little bit dry. I'm just going to add a little bit more water in it. Like this. I think that's where I want to be. That's about where I want to be. And I'm just going to flatten it out a little bit like this and put a belly in it to prove a point. This is Portland cement. Now here we are about 5 minutes later, and look, right on top, what do you see? You see the water. Here's what happens with Portland cement. The water always comes to the top. That's why when they're refinishing concrete on a driveway or something, you always see the water coming to the top. Mortar won't do that. And see, on the very bottom, it gets harder. That's why it's so hard to work with Portland when you're working with block, because you got to keep mixing it up all the time. So that's why they use S mortar or regular mortar on block. Now I showed you what happened with the Portland. Now we're going to take the mortar, do the same thing, 2 to 1, and we're going to mix this up. And a lot of times you hear me when I'm telling you that everybody has a different way of doing it, a different tradition. What they do in Florida, you don't do in Pennsylvania. What you do in Pennsylvania, you don't do in California. What they do in California, they don't do in Alaska. Everybody's got their own way and own style of using this. And a lot of times, in New Jersey, they like to use Portland and mix it with the lime. That's why they got the bag out there. But around here, you can't buy it because it's not tradition. It's not the way they do it. So here we are 5 minutes later with the mortar. And what you notice about the mortar that's different than the Portland is the water doesn't come to the top, it stays consistent. That's why they use it for brick like this. That's what they do. Now we're looking at our Portland right there. We're looking at our mortar right there and right here. is the same thing we used for the beginning. Remember that one that says used for brick, block, stone, and veneer? This is a blended masonry mix, which means everything was put together. Your sand, your cement, your Portland, type S, that's what we used at the beginning. Not the same name, but the same style. So far we looked at the Portland and we looked at the mortar. Portland, I explained to you, if you look at a concrete truck, whatever they're pouring with a concrete truck, it's always Portland. Whatever they're doing with brick, block, stucco, that's usually with mortar. Now the best way to describe this is every mason has their own recipe. Just like if you're going to someone's house for spaghetti. If I go to Jersey, I see a lot of masons use the Portland and they mix it with the lime. But in Pennsylvania, where I'm living, I never see any lime for sale. They don't use it. It's usually, that's what I'm talking about, tradition. Now this here, type S mortar, brick, block, stone, type S means it has Portland in it. Because years ago when I worked with my dad, it was a bag of mortar. There was no such thing as S or N or O. And we just used 20 shovels of sand, a bag of mortar, and 3 shovels of Portland. That was our mix for everything. And when we did stonework, we'd mix half Portland and half mortar with 2 buckets of sand. So it'd be 2 to 1. So you can mix the stuff together. Just like spaghetti, you go to someone's house, they all got a different recipe. Depends on where you live, what makes it work. And right here, the type S, that's just sand, the mortar, and a little Portland mixed in, like I did in the first video. So, I hope you understand that. You got a little something out of it. Go to my video on what cement should I use. It'll explain it better and how I do it. In the next video, we're going to start going into the other types of cement. But they're all water-based, and they're all basically the same thing. They're just used for different purposes. So I hope you got something out of that video, and this is the end of part 2.